Welcome everyone to MSI Cooldown. I'm Sjokz, joined by Caedrel and Dagda. It has been a very eventful day. It may have started off with a couple of convincing wins, but then it all went haywire. Dagda, what did you think of your first day on broadcast MSI and what we've seen today?
It was good. I mean, it's nice to always kind of have a few upsets, keep things interesting. Obviously, my boys RNG doing well, so I'm a happy camper. You know, all in all, it was an interesting day.
It definitely was. Let's start by talking a bit about that last game before we get an interview with Maple in just a bit. Caedrel, it was an Astro draft defeat.
Oh, it was such a draft diff. How can you give them Rumble on red side and then draft a Hecarim into it? And then, it was a horror. But I think that PSG's draft was fantastic. You have Rumble, Lucian, and Gnar. It's such a strong top side already. Kai'Sa, Leona. I think that the draft was so one-sided that PSG, I don't know how you can really lose team fights with that comp in the mid-game.
Yeah, and then they were proactive as well, Dagda, so it looked kind of over very early in that game.
Yeah, they very much took control in the early stages. I mean, I love how active this jungler is on the map with River moving up towards topside to get those kills. And honestly, I think the big one for me is actually looking at Maple in that mid lane. Coming over from the LPL in 2019, in 2020, I wasn't fully convinced by this guy. But seeing his growth now that he's gone back to the PCS region, bringing out these picks like the Lucian, I love seeing the guy just have these pop-off performances like he had here today.
Yeah, he had such pop-off performance. And I think if you look at PNG's draft, you look at it and you think, well, it's a 1-4 comp with a Karma who needs to go with the Tristana who should get ahead. And then the Ryze is try and match a side lane against Gnar Lucian, which is already a tough task. And it felt like Pain was playing towards the top side in the early stages and getting the Karma and the Hecarim rolling, which is not what you want to do, especially if you want to get the Tristana ahead. And the Tristana was kind of left to her own devices. And I think that if the Ryze is in the head, you don't really have any pushing lanes. The Lucian Gnar 1-3-1s, they collapse, they team fight. So much control in fights with Mega Gnar, with the culling, and with the equalizer. It's so hard for Pain Gaming to ever find and engage.
Yeah, fantastic rebound also after the start versus Mad Lions. Yesterday, PSG showed us more of what we expected. Aggressive moves by River and now incorporating Doggo better than they were able to do yesterday, which is natural that would take some time. And also an exquisite draft. The drive to victory presented by Mercedes-Benz was Maple's outplay. I mean, Caedrel as a pro player. Ooh!
I'm still a pro player to you then. Oh, nice. Regarding me as a pro, but no, this outplay was great. They were the ones engaging him on the tower. I mean, he was just kind of culling down BRTT and then focusing down either targets. Obviously, they were tanking the tower as well, so...
It's quick outplay.
Yeah, it was a quick outplay, but he managed to take them down. That cinematic view was nice to see.
Yeah, we're going to go to the interview in just a second. Dagda, this does make this group even more interesting than it already was. I think also with the Mad Lions having such a competitive game versus the Wildcats, who almost won that one. Now Pain dropping this one to the PCS, to PSG. A lot of aggravations. It's looking like it might heat up here in Group B.
Yeah, I really have no idea what way this is going to go. It feels like Wildcats, at least with their performances in the early stages, should be higher in the standings, but unfortunately not able to close out these games. And then you look towards Pain, who have been a little bit rocky when it comes towards that bottom half of the map, but still able to pick up their victory yesterday. It does feel like this thing is still absolutely wide open and could be anyone's game as we start to progress through MSI.
I completely agree. And now we'll get some more insight from PSG's mid laner as Dash is standing by with him in Reykjavik.
Thank you, Sjokz, here with Maple after that impressive victory over Pain Gaming. Maple, such a strong victory today to move yourselves to 1-1. My first question is, what was so different between today's performance and yesterday's performance that you were able to make today's victory so smooth?
首先恭喜你们拿下了比赛的胜利，因为感觉今天的话跟昨天你们表现出来是非常不一样的两个状态，所以你们昨天之后是经历了什么样的一个准备或者是说调整，去让今天的比赛看起来这么的顺利？
其实最主要还是我们那个最近的状态不错嘛，但是昨天的话是，在游戏中有一些比较大的失误嘛，所以才导致一面倒。但我们今天就没有犯什么失误，所以很顺利的赢下比赛。
So I think our form recently was decent, but we made some mistakes, very severe mistakes during the game. So that was the main reason that why we lost the game yesterday. But we reduced mistakes today, so our game went pretty smooth.
It was, again, an absolute treat to watch, but many international fans will recognize you because you've been to the international stage so many times. But recently, you just rejoined the PCS region after being in the LPL for 2 years. But you've been one of the most decorated players that the LMS or the PCS has ever had, with 5 Worlds performances and 3 MSI showings. How does it feel to be back in that region, representing once again on the international stage?
因为其实你是 国际经验非常多的一个选手嘛，也很多的国际粉丝都认得出你。你去过5次的世界赛，然后去过3次的 MSI， 然后呢，你也是在 LPL 活动2年之后重新回到了 PCS，然后所以重新作为这个 PCS 代表来到 MSI， 你会有什么样的感想吗？
我蛮喜欢国际赛这种氛围，然后可以跟各国的高手然后交手这样子，然后这次自己的期待是就是能够打出，就是自己能够打得好的表现吧，就是起码我们把我们自己最近的状态给打出在比赛上面。
I really love the atmosphere in the international tournaments, and we're able to play against with a lot of great players, the top players in the world. And for my personal goal at this tournament, I just want to performed to play what we're capable of in our actual games.
As well as rejoining the PCS, you're also reunited with your top laner, Hanabi, who you've played with before. How does it feel to be back with a familiar face, again competing here on the international stage?
那你也是重新跟哈纳比重聚了嘛，就是也是老队友了，所以再跟他一起再一次出征这个国际赛事的话，感觉怎么样呢？
就本来就是好朋友了嘛，然后哈纳比的话，就是我跟他一直都蛮好的，然后也蛮清楚他的打法，所以刚加入队伍的时候也蛮知道要怎么跟他配合的。
Me and Hanabi are good friends. We're very close with each other. So the moment I join the team, I already know how to synergize with them very well. So it doesn't have a very big problem between us, especially in game.
Well, you already mentioned some of your personal goals here for this event. So now I'm actually curious what you feel like has changed for yourself as a player over the past few years. Again, you've had such a long career. How would you define Maple now as a player?
因为其实刚刚你提到了一个自己的目标嘛，这经过了这么多年的一个职业生涯，你会怎么定义说现在自己的一个定位呢？说你怎么定义 Maple 这个选手？
我觉得选手的话还是蛮看成绩的嘛，对。那自己的话就希望能打出，就是原本以前打出的成绩吧。对 MSI 我们最高是94强嘛，希望能达到更上面的成绩。
So as a pro player, what's the most important thing is the result, or the achievements you could have. So for this time international event, I hope that we can get result as the best result we had before was semis in the MSI. So I hope that we can reach that too. Hopefully we can do it.
Well, with today's victory, you've made this group very interesting. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me. And from here, we're going to throw it back to Sjokz.
Thank you very much. Always lovely to hear from Maple. And I think sometimes we forget that the PCS is the spiritual successor to the LMS, and that has always been an incredible region internationally, as he alludes to there with the Flash Wolves at MSI semifinals, always competitive at Worlds, the Korea Killers. And Maple was such a big part of that history. So it's awesome seeing him thriving, and he made this group very interesting. With that said, let's pull up the groups and dive a bit deeper into the others. And let's dive into Group C in a second. We have Damwon, Infinity, Detonation, Focus Me, and Cloud9, Caedrel, and it's been thrown into disarray.
It has, yeah. Cloud9 losing to DFM has shaken up this group a lot because Infinity kind of dismantled DFM in the team fights. It was a close game for a little bit, but they got that better hand of them. And then DFM all of a sudden take down Cloud9. Now, DWG Kia is definitely going to dominate this group. They're definitely going to be the first seed, just looking at it in general. But
Why are we showing it?
Okay, yeah, so C9 definitely struggling in this group. This game was a huge loss for them, and I think going forwards, I think they'll turn things around. I haven't lost full faith into C9 just yet, but they're definitely on the back foot, being 0-2 in this group and being in the last place.
Yeah, Dagda, I mean, it's best the ones. You can turn everything around because you get another chance, but you do have Damwon, who is going to be very hard to beat regardless, and I think that makes the makeup of this group rather different than the others.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like kind of at this stage, Damwon are looking to just completely sweep the group. They look so damn dominant, but it does mean then when you end up playing through the other three teams that are there, if you end up dropping one or two of these games, it makes such a bigger difference because you don't have really a chance to try and take back a lot of these games against the likes of Damwon. So if you're looking at Cloud9, who now dropped the game against Detonation Focus Me, this could end up being something like the Kaboom Alliance that we had in 2014. This could end up being such a big upset when you look at the grand scheme of things in Group C.
Yeah, and in Group B, you've got the same kind of story.
Yeah,
Mad Lions dominating the group itself, and then the Fast Pay Wildcats kind of struggling. They lost to Pain Gaming in a game that they should have won, I would say, because they are ahead, they overextended, and Pain Gaming got the better hand of them in the mid to late game. And again, against Mad Lions, putting up a good fight, you know. So this group's also kind of interesting because the last place team in Fast Pay Wildcats is actually looking pretty good.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the moments from that game, Dagda, as well, because Armit said it himself. I shouldn't speak too much after that game because the Wildcats were incredibly competitive, just dropping the ball at some of those team fights. And I feel like it's definitely not all said and done, not even for the Mad Lions getting out necessarily, but for everyone in that group.
Definitely, and I mean, I'm so in love with the bottom lane that's coming through from Wildcats right now. Farfetch and Holy Phoenix have been absolutely insane, and even though we saw Karzi and Kaiser really going toe-to-toe with them, it still feels like at any point in time this bot lane could pop off for Wildcats, and it's honestly only a matter of time. And I think when you're looking at Group B, and again, how competitive it has been, how close it has been, as Caedrel was saying, only the game yesterday just about slipping away from Wildcats. I'm not convinced that it's just going to be as easy as, you know, oh, Mad Lions coming out on top, it's going to be a clear favorite in second place. I think there's a lot still to play for here. And I think especially when you get a lot of these mixture of teams who are coming into the international tournament, being able to see their style trend and thrive on the international stage is really interesting.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of positives to take away for Fast Pay Wildcats, despite being 0-2. You know, you put up a fight against Mad Lions, arguably out-macroing them in the mid to late game, getting towers when you're at the back foot, and then putting up a fight against Pain Gaming, getting good fundamentals and early game leads. And that's just a TCL in a nutshell. I think TCL at international events has always been a pretty strong region when it comes to the minor regions. When we shy away from the top regions, TCL is normally on top.
Yes, they are. Historically, they have been, but we've heard it's a bit of a rebuild phase for them. So let's see what they can do here. DWG Kia, though, they are still undefeated so far at MSI, and Dash caught up with Khan after their win versus Infinity earlier today.
What's up, everyone? Dash here on the ground in Iceland. Happy to be joined by Khan after another impressive victory here at MSI Reykjavik. Khan, so far, 2-0 for the team, and for yourself playing Gnar and Sion specifically in the tournament so far. But I'm curious, as you were the only roster change for the team coming off of the World Championship, how do you view your role on the team specifically this year?
네. 일단 미드 정글 이제 두 선수의 캐리력이 굉장히 높다 보니까 이제 그 선수들의 캐리력을 최대한 좀 어떻게 하면 더 성장을 도와줄 수 있고 말리지 않을까 좀 그런 쪽으로 많이 생각하고 플레이했던 것 같아요. 처음에 준비 기간부터.
We have an issue with Jisun's mic, unfortunately, earlier, so we're going to try and get that for you later, hopefully, because we always want to hear from Khan. But maybe I can relate a question to my analyst then.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Damwon, I mean, you just look at the way that they've changed and the way that Khan's adopted a new play style for this team. He's almost like the consistency factor that, not that they needed, but that just suits them really well. I mean, they had Noguri before last year, very volatile. We talked about this before. Very aggressive, I must say. Lots of resources went into him, and he was like this X-factor carry, which could clutch it for you at times, but also sometimes lose you the game. Most of the time last year, it did work out. He did carry a lot of games on things like the Camille, that was staple factor as a champion for him. But Khan brings a lot of consistency, and that's what I like to see. He can play things like the Gnar. He can win his lane and get you the push. He can also play Sion and be the front line you need.
And everything going swimmingly for Damwon so far. And I want to talk about that other favorite, RNG, Dagda, after what you've seen after 2 days, and honestly, really impressive performances from them so far. What are your hopes and dreams for, that was so dramatic, for the rest of MSI?
I mean, obviously, we're hoping that RNG wins the whole thing, but when Damwon is looking as dominant as they are, it's really, really tough to say which way it's going to come out. I mean, Canyon and Showmaker absolutely on form. Potential there for them to completely dominate the mid-jungle 2v2 against RNG, but you can see already Sjokz is no pushover in that top lane, and if he gets rolling, it could be RNG that are able to take the thing.
Yeah, RNG are dominating their group. Damwon's dominating their group. Mad Lions arguably dominating their group, so there's 3 standouts right now on day 2 after the day 2 is finished, but definitely still a lot to play for.
Definitely so. Let's take a look at the schedule for tomorrow. No time to rest here at MSI. An absolutely crucial game for Cloud9. They're up against Infinity, and when you're 0-2, you cannot drop this game.
You cannot, especially going into the second half of this double best of round robin. I mean, they need to take down Infinity, at least get a win on the board, sit at 1-2, match Infinity on the 1-2, and then climb your way back up from there. Take down DFM on the next game perhaps, and then build your way up into that second place, which you would expect the LCS to get in this group with Damwon King in first.
We're really hoping for those first games to give us an upset. Otherwise, it's just going to be the RNG show, I think, again. And then we do have Unicorns of Love versus Pentanet, which is very, very important. And at the back end of the day, as we have done in the last couple of days, Group B, honestly, I'm super excited for Group B. It's just so close. I mean, it's Pain versus Mad tomorrow after what we've seen today. And yesterday from Pain. I mean, not maybe today, but yesterday from Pain. I think there's definitely potential for an upset there.
There is potential for an upset. We haven't seen too many upsets yet, barring the Cloud9 DFM game. I'm expecting more, especially in Group B and Group C, but I think Group A to me is looking like it's shaping up to be an RNG UL show.
That it is. Dagda, I want to thank you for chiming in, doing more than chiming in. You've done fantastically here today, and it was great to have you on the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me. And I mean, it's always good to talk about LPL, so I'm glad I get to do it on a stage like MSI.
Absolutely, and of course, we'll see more of you as the tournament continues. But that was all of us here on day 2 of MSI for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow for more League of Legends. See you then.
Bye-bye.
When the West rose up! PSG Talon continue